All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Speak to the Beak. I am Tim the Ferds, and if you're rejoining us here, whether it be in podcast form or YouTube, you know it's Thursday, so it's hockey day. That means I am joined by friend of the show, Joe Wilson. And Joe, I gotta tell you, I've had some people ask me that are like, because you're kind of in like my work friend group as opposed to like my mainstream friend group there. So some of
Yeah,
my friends who have never met you were like, "Who's Joe Wilson? Who is this guy?" So that's good for two reasons. One, because we have listeners that
yeah,
know who we are, and two, because they might like you or they might not. I don't know, but they're asking
great.
about you. So
That's fantastic.
yeah,
Maybe I can meet him when I get back.
it's pretty great. They have said that you're a little low, so if you're listening or watching here, we've buffed Joe's volume a little bit. That's okay, and he's being a trooper tonight because he has contracted corona, and he has said that it's okay for me to tell you that. So
Yeah, it's fine.
he's out here. He's gonna tough it out. Obviously he got kicked out of his dorm room kind of last minute, so we're making do with what we got here. Not much going on in the background. Totally left the AirPods there. But I think, between the studio manager, which is me, and the editor, which is me, and the person who will produce this podcast, which is also me, we should be able to make that kind of go away there. So, we're out here. Here's what we got for today's episode, all right? So, it's about the halfway point of the season, give or take a couple of games here or there. So, we're going to do a big standings check. We're obviously going to play some puck out of here, or I puck with that. We got our betting picks. And Joe, I found out, I know I haven't spoken to you since I spoke to Lou about this. When I use the phrase, apparently, lose degenerate friends, that's a big
Yeah,
phrase. Yeah, it's a popular one.
yeah, they
So,
like
yeah, I guess so. It's a big thing.
that.
So, we're going to keep throwing that out there. So, if you are one of Lou's degenerate friends who's going to throw your money away, we have some picks for you as well. So, Joe, you ready to get going?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is. So, let's start off with a couple of things that we saw over the weekend. One thing, which is not really super important, but I just want to point it out before we get started, is did you see the goalie goal and the celebration to go with it?
Yeah, I did. It was. I wish we can see that more in the NHL. That'd be great.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, he was celebrating like they just won the Stanley Cup. It looked like less than a
Yeah, he
minute
was
ago. He was
awesome.
freaking out. I don't know the last time an NHL goalie scored an NHL goal. I mean, we probably should have looked that up, but I don't know if you know offhand. But I mean,
I did not.
I love that where the team gets like super amped for him.
Yeah, even though it's like just an empty netter, but you just don't see it.
You
Like
don't,
it's like
yeah,
so rare. It just gets so amped for it.
exactly. So I just wanted to lead off with that because that's just like a fun little thing. If you haven't seen that, we posted it on the Beak Brands account. It's also on the NHL account. They post a lot, so it might be lost in the highlights, but totally something you should check out. Now, we were gonna open with the Mika Zibanejad thing from last week because of course that happened right after we finished recording. But we got some pretty big news today. NHL fired one of their referees. He got caught on a hot mic saying that there wasn't much for a penalty, but he wanted to call a penalty on Nashville. And he also used some choice words in there, some adverbs, verbs that we're not going to repeat on the podcast. So, what do you think of that? That's pretty crazy that he's out here just
Yeah,
saying, like, yeah, screw Nashville.
I don't think it was a overreaction by the league at all. Just because, like, how are you going to be able to trust this Tim Peel guy? Ever like again, just like making these calls, saying, "Oh, I just wanted to call a penalty on Nashville to change the flow of the game early on." Like, just not really something you can get caught doing. Because I'm sure it probably happens like a good amount of the time, and like all a good amount of sports too. So he just got caught, and that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like surprised that I mean they moved on that quickly. It was like we're investigating him, and then it was just like,
Yeah,
nah,
that was like
forget
last.
that, done.
Yeah, that was insane.
So I'm surprised that like I was just surprised that refs actually think like that. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if it carried over from like a previous game or warm ups, or he just doesn't like the coach of the team or the player. Like, what do you think could make? I mean, obviously we don't know, but like, what do you would think of like a ref to hate a team that much to just be like, I'm gonna blatantly blow this call to put a guy in the box?
Maybe it just has to do with the divisions this year, how the teams only have to play the other teams in their division. And, like, I guess, like, the Predators and Red Wings were just playing, like, in the past, and he just wanted to make the game more exciting or something.
So,
No idea.
do you see this becoming a problem though, with like betting becoming more and more legal in sports? Obviously, we give picks here. I think eventually there's going to be a referee in some sport that's just going to blatantly blow a call because he's got big money riding on the other team.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. That'd be something out of a movie. That'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's like those Buffalo Wild Wings commercials, but in real life. Where
That'd be
like
kind of fun to see, though.
the sprinkler heads just start shooting up out of the field, or like the ice starts melting on one side.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to throw that in there. That's like a wild, wild story. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to that. Like, they're probably going to do a full dive investigation on this guy, even though he's done with the league. Probably like the guys he normally refs with, you know, other refing crews. Like that, there's going to be a lot going on there. That's going to be a big story to follow.
Yeah.
But let's go over here to the Zibanejad thing. I know as soon as we ended last week, a couple people texted me like, "Oh, you leave with Zibanejad? You can leave with Zibanejad?" And like, we stopped recording like 3 hours ago, so it's gonna have to wait till next week because I'm not gonna like. We could have edited it in, but by the time I could have got you back on here, it would have taken too long. But we're boring the people with the story. But if you missed it, he tied the all-time record for a player with amount of points in a period with 6. Okay, so he actually tied former Islander Brian Trottier. That was back in the 78-79 season. So I'll give you a couple of fun facts. Both guys scored 6 points, obviously. Both guys play for New York teams, obviously Trottier with the Islanders and Zibanejad with the Rangers. Both of their teams in those respective games scored 9 goals apiece. Rangers won 9-0. Islanders back then scored 9. However, it didn't come totally full circle, as Trottier's 6 points actually came against the Rangers. So if Zibanejad was able to do this against the Islanders, it would have been a full-on circle of life. So what do you... I mean, you watched it. I mean, that's just insanity. Like, if you're a casual fan here, 6 points in a game is a lot. 6 points in a period is, like, unheard of.
Yeah, that's nuts. He had the first 3 assists of the first 3 goals of the period, then scored 3 of his own right after that. Crazy.
Yeah, that's, like, complete insanity. I mean, now... Philadelphia forgot there must have been a game or something because, like, I don't know what they were doing on defense. They started Brian Elliott. They pulled him. First shot that Hart faces is like a 2-on-0 breakaway. So, like, I don't know what was going on.
Flyers have been struggling for sure.
Yeah, they've been struggling. And then because we were texting as that was happening, like, later on that night. And we were like, of course, we, the Islanders, get to play the Flyers tomorrow, and they're all, like, pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did they do? They beat us.
Yeah.
I mean, we ended up getting them back later, but, like, of course, we had to be the team that plays them after that.
Yeah, because you can't follow that with another loss. That's embarrassing.
Yeah. The analogy my dad always used to use with me, it's a football analogy. He was like, you always feel bad for the team that has to play the Patriots after they lose. Because you know Tom Brady is about to, like, go ape shit, and he's gonna hang like 35 in the first half. So, like, listen, when a team especially in the NHL, when a team loses that bad, you know, that's like you're playing Xbox numbers, like 9-0.
Yeah,
that doesn't
unless
happen.
You're the Steelers, you still keep losing.
Oh man, they're just a punching bag, man.
Yeah, they are.
Punching bag.
I need them to come out on top, though, tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe is out here trying to throw some money on Buffalo against Pittsburgh. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's save our bets for later. That's a crazy pick to me. But speaking of Zibanejad here and the Rangers, we're gonna play a little puck out of here. So if you're new to this, you're new to the hockey scene. I ask Joe a question. He tells me, puck out of here, which means he does not agree. Or I puck with it, which means he does agree. We got some pretty good topics here, all standings related. All right, so we got plenty there. Rangers right now. So let's start with Zibanejad. In his past 6 games, he has 11 points. And the Rangers are only 4 points back of the last playoff spot in the Eastern Division. So, Joe, with Panarin back and playing well, and Zibanejad playing very well of late, and Buffalo and New Jersey are almost certain to be sellers, do you agree that the Rangers will make the playoffs?
Puck out of here. I do not agree with that statement.
Yeah, let me know why.
Just because the Bruins right now are sitting in fourth, 4 points ahead with 3 games in hand on the Rangers, and still the Flyers are 2 points ahead of them. And again, the Flyers have just been really struggling of late, 3-6-1 in the last 10 games. So I don't see their struggles continuing that much because Carter Hart, like both their goalies, have just not been doing well at all. And to me, I expect them to pick it up sooner or later to try to contend with Boston. But I don't think the Rangers have the depth to be able to make a late push for the playoffs. But
Yeah,
that could be
so
fine.
no, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. What I'm gonna say is this: I don't think the Rangers can catch up in the playoff race because the top 4 teams, forget everyone else, they're
Yeah,
just not going to catch the top 4. Like between Boston, Pittsburgh, the Islanders, and the Capitals. Like I know they're not catching the Capitals; they're pretty much in. And for the
yeah,
Islanders to drop all the way out of it, it would have to be like a catastrophic collapse, which I don't see that happening the way they're coached and whatnot. So you're really
yeah.
looking at Pittsburgh's more talented than them, and so is Boston. Now Boston's kind of like, other than that one line, they're not playing that well right now. But
Yeah.
do you think the Rangers can stay this hot? Because you're going to think the other teams that I just listed are also going to beat up on the Sabres and the Devils. Right? So, I mean, that's where
Right.
I'm at. And speaking of beating up on the Sabres, we're recording a lot later than we normally do. So let's see if Pittsburgh is actually beating up on the Sabres right now. Because that would be nice to back up my point if that was actually happening.
They're up 2-1.
They're up. Oh, see, I got 2-0. The Sabres must have just scored. So either
Yeah,
way,
Darlene just scored.
yeah, they're winning. They're winning. So the point still stands. I'm with Joe. I don't think that the Rangers are going to make the playoffs. But like we said in previous shows here, even though we don't really like them, they have a bunch of solid players, so they're always going to be like kind of in the mix there for that last kind of spot.
They could definitely make it interesting for sure.
Yeah, they can make it. That I'll give you. Yeah, they can make it interesting.
Yeah, but I don't see them making it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So let's slide over to another division here. We're going to go out west. All right. So the Avalanche are scorching hot. They've won 7 of their last 10. Unfortunately, for this question, they lost in the shootout last night, but they did play their backup goalie. They were heading into that game the best defensive team in the division by goals allowed. I know last week you picked Vegas as your President's Trophy winner, but are you willing to back off and say that the Avalanche, on their hot streak, will win the Western Division outright?
Also, puck out of here with that. I think the Knights still are gonna come out on top because even though the Avalanche have won 7 out of their last 10, the Knights have also won 7 out of their last 10, and they don't seem to be slowing down. And I think Marc-Andre Fleury is still having a Vienza candidate season. I know Grubauer on the Avalanche is also having a good season, but I just think Vegas has more depth in their forward lines than Colorado because I feel like Colorado has a really solid top 6, and then their third and fourth lines aren't as strong. But their offensive defensemen make up for that, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, I just think Vegas is a goaltending duo, and offensive power is just going to propel them to the top of the West for the rest of the season.
All right, so I see that, but I'm actually gonna. I think they can do it, right? So, like you said, they're top 6 on offense, really good, and they do have super super talented like offensive defensemen, as you stated, right? So I'm gonna give you a couple of things here as to why I think they might be able to catch them. All right, so number one is what you said. Their top 6 is like overpowered, right? You got McKinnon, who I think finally, like, he's always been like really good. Like, this is gonna sound disrespectful, but like, he's always been really good. I think this year he took the next step to like finally prominent, everyone knows him, superstar level. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say even maybe even last season, but like this season, he's definitely really proven
Because
himself.
he's repeated it. I think that's the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Nazem Kadri has been really good for the Avalanche. Obviously, they still have Landeskog, right? I mean, you got Mikko Rantanen. Like, they have guys that are really good. They also got the other reason why I'm kind of on the Avalanche is the way they play. Like, they're fast and physical at the same time, which is
Yeah,
like it's rare for teams to have both. Like, obviously they're an upper tier team, but uh, my weak point for them going into this was the only person on their team that they had playing goalie pretty much was Grubauer. All right, so
exactly.
he had 25 games started and 26 games played, which is literally the whole season right so far.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but they
absurd.
did pick up Johansson from Buffalo on Saturday as their goal. Now they did start him last night. He did lose, but it wasn't a shootout.
Yeah,
And I think
they choked the lead too, though.
they did choke the lead. They were down at one point, and then they took the lead, and then they coughed it up. Um, I mean, I think Johansson's probably the biggest winner out of all of this, though, because you went from the
Yeah,
easily worst team in the league to a top,
to
4
auto.
or 5 team in the whole league. So he jumped up big time. That's why I think they might be able to catch him. Now, I do think that Vegas' team is stacked between, Stone, Pacioretty, Theodore, Carlson, Tuck, Marchessault. Like, they have dudes. The one big
Yeah,
advantage they have,
and
though,
Ryan Reeves.
yeah, and Ryan Reeves. The big one advantage they have is if Flurry goes into a funk, because he normally does, like once a season, he'll play poorly for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
They have Robin Leonard just chilling on the
yeah,
bench. Yeah. And I think that could
exactly.
eventually be Colorado's kind of downfall there in trying to catch
That's
him.
what I'm saying.
Because Leonard is significantly better than Johansson. You would agree, I'd assume.
Yes, sir. And just because like you need to have the balance, I feel like a lot of teams now in the league have adapted having like two starting goalies that they like switch them out so they don't get worn out all season. Like Carey Price always did every season, always end up getting hurt or something. So I think that's why they definitely will stay on the top in the West and win the West.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams, like Joe said, have moved to that two goalie thing. Rangers have two goalies. Islanders have two goalies. The Stars, when Ben Bishop is healthy, have two goalies. Like we just said, Colorado traded for a second goalie, even though Grubauer is having an amazing season. Vegas, like I can go on and on about
Boston.
teams. Boston too, right? That rollout. Even the Flyers, Elliott and Hart's a solid duo. Like they have guys.
Boston. Too.
Like, so there's a
Their
lot of
ranking is
teams that
solid.
are, yeah, upper tier teams that have two goalies.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only thing that might separate Vegas from Colorado. But I think, do you think the Avalanche can keep it close?
Yeah,
All
definitely.
right.
It's close right now, even though Vegas has a game in hand and is 2 points above ahead of them. But Colorado is like a higher goal differential, and they've, as you said, they've been real hot lately. So it's definitely going to be close.
Yeah. So let's go to our last question for Puck out of here. So last year, the Stars made the Stanley Cup, and they've gotten off to a slow start this year between COVID, not playing well, they got some injuries, but they are starting to get healthier. Tyler Seguin expected back April 2nd, which is from the time we're recording this, about a week and a day or two. Bishop is currently 4 weeks into his 4 to 6 week timetable to return. So he's probably like 2 to 3 weeks away, max. So, simple question: the Dallas Stars will miss the playoffs in 2021.
Puck out of here.
Oh, three puck out of
Again,
here's
three
tonight.
puck out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, not messing with any of the questions today, Tim. But yeah, as you said, they got their solid key star players coming back from injury, and like, sure they're the seventh seed right now, only at 28 points, but they have 4 games in hand on everybody in front of them from the sixth to the fourth seed. So I think as long as they can make a push towards the end. Hopefully, it's not too late when everybody comes back and is healthy. But I really don't see them missing the playoffs, and maybe Chicago might choke and drop down a little bit because they've been really, I feel, overachieving this season.
So I'm glad you brought them up. So if when you look at the Central Division, right, which is where obviously the Stars play, they're currently
Yeah,
in second to last place. But out of all the teams that are not the top three, they're the only team with a positive goal differential. They're plus
yeah,
4. Red Wings are negative 35, but they're terrible. Predators negative 24. Blue Jackets negative 20. Blackhawks minus 10. Blackhawks have 35 points, though. So I think it comes down to this. Do you think that the Stars can jump 3 teams? Because they're not going to catch the Lightning, Florida, or Carolina. That's
yeah.
not possible.
That's not.
So you pretty
That's
much
not.
got 4 teams fighting for the last spot. Nashville is kind of on record saying they might trade some guys away, so you might be able to take them out of it.
Yeah, I don't see Nashville being higher than the sixth seed this season.
All right, so it's pretty much between the Blue Jackets, the Blackhawks, and the Stars. All right.
Yeah,
I think that Patrick Kane is going to lead the Blackhawks to that last seed, but
yeah. I mean,
you're out on that. It sounds like.
it's definitely a fair take. It's just I feel like with the injuries they've had this season, like they really are just overachieving. And their rookie goaltender they got's been playing really well, but again, I really just don't see Dallas missing the playoffs, especially with all these games in hand. If they win like 4 straight, they're like right there with Chicago and putting the pressure on.
So what is? Let's see if this changes your mind, right? So the Blackhawks are 3-6-1 in their past 10 games, okay, but they've lost to Tampa 4 times in the
Yeah,
past 10. Now, obviously, I don't think any of the teams from the Blackhawks down are in Tampa's category at all. They only
Dallas played.
I checked their
Yeah.
schedule. I checked the Blackhawks schedule. They only have to play Tampa one more time. So do you think that's like the schedule severely in their favor?
Yeah, when you put it like that, that honestly does put in their favor. But as I just was trying to say before, Dallas, they played Tampa pretty well last night. They lost, I think it was 2-1. They had the 1-0 lead, and then just choked. But again, if Bishop back, Seguin back, things could be different. You know what I'm saying? And then they could possibly be able to beat Florida, Carolina, Chicago. You know,
So
I
let's
just think it
look.
depends
Oh,
on.
keep going, keep going.
I just think it depends on when they get back and when they really start pushing it into playoff mode.
All right, so I guess that's reasonable. I'm just looking at the Stars' schedule real quick. They have 4 games left against Tampa, and they have 4 games left against Chicago. So that's 8 games right there. I think if they
How many,
don't win at least 4 of those, they're in trouble.
how many games do they have left against Detroit and Nashville?
Okay, so Nashville is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4. Red Wings 1, 2, 3, 4. But they all come
Yeah,
in a row. They play the Red Wings 4 times in a row.
that's tough.
Yeah, I don't think even as bad as Detroit is, I don't think you can beat them 4 straight games.
Yeah, I think they should go with 3-1 in both those. Uh, I like best, I think, for them against Nashville and Detroit, 3-1.
Because then for
I don't know.
Chicago, if you want to look at it that way, Chicago still has 2 games left against Detroit, but they play Nashville 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a close one for sure. But then again, I feel like Nashville and Chicago match up pretty evenly
They do.
in a way.
They do. But if Nashville blows it up, things could be different, I guess.
Yeah. We'll just have to see, Tim.
I guess we'll just have to see. We'll keep this one noted. So if you're an avid hockey listener and or I guess watcher now, you keep this one book noted for us, or bookmarked, excuse me. Book noted, not a term. Okay, so we're gonna go to our standings predictions. So it's a little bit differently this year. Normally you have the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, 8 teams aside, bracket style, the whole thing. This year, because of COVID, a little bit differently. So it's going to be the top 4 teams in each division are going to make the playoffs. Then, as they advance, they'll be reseeded and whatnot, okay? So let's not worry about the reseeding and all that stuff. Let's just pick our 4 teams for every division and in what order they're going to go in. So let's start in the East. I'm going to go Capitals, Islanders, Penguins, and Bruins. And before you give yours, I just want to say me and Joe, he does not know my picks. So some of these might come as a surprise. So like I said, for me, Caps, Isles, Penguins, Bruins. Who do you got in the East?
Yeah, I have the Caps, Isles, Pens, and Bruins too.
All right, so we're on the same page there in the same exact order. Like we said last week with the Capitals, we think they're going to overtake the Islanders, especially with the Anders Lee injury. Capitals are a super deep team. I don't think anyone at home listening to this might have a problem with that. I don't want to spend too much time on it, so let's go to the next one. All right, because we're obviously in lockstep there.
One more thing before we move on. I just think maybe if the Islanders made a acquisition of some sort for a top 6 forward, it'd be possible, but just a maybe,
Okay, just something to keep an eye out. And if you're here looking for some trade stuff, next week we might have you covered with some, potential trade targets for a couple of teams. So just, that's a tease, people. All right, so let's go to the Central Division. Why don't you give yours first this time?
For the Central Division, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning, Hurricanes, Panthers, and the Dallas Stars.
Okay, so we're a little bit different here. I got the Lightning, the Panthers, the Hurricanes, and then the Blackhawks. So let's talk about Panthers Hurricanes real quick. Was that interchangeable for you? Because I feel like that was interchangeable for me.
Yeah, I could see it going either way. I just feel like Carolina's the better team. They have a less game played, and they have a way better goal differential. I mean, Florida's plus 16, but Carolina's plus 26.
Yeah.
So, I just feel like they're going to hold on to the 2 spot.
I feel like their remaining games against each other are going to decide that point, like that part in the standings. Because they're both going to beat up on the lower tier teams, so that's like kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think for the Panthers, Barkov is hurt, isn't he? I think Barkov is hurt.
He could be. I can check that out.
I don't think he played last night. And the
tomorrow against the Blackhawks, it says he's healthy.
All right, so maybe he just got scratched last night, last minute. Blackhawks and Stars as the last thing. Me and Joe kind of just discussed that at length, so we're not going to go into that one more time. Obviously, he's on the Stars. I think it's going to be, too little too late for the Stars, but that's just me. How about the Western Division?
The West, I have the Knights, the Avalanche, the Wild, and the Blues.
Okay, so I wrote on my notes like Vegas #1, and then I just wrote Avalanche ? I do think, like we said before, that they might be able to catch them, and I really want to pick them like so bad, but I can't. I can't do it. Just only because Leonard is just so much, is like drastically better than Johansson. Like, if anything were to happen to Grubauer, like the Avalanche would fall off a cliff.
Yeah, they'd probably still they'd definitely still be in the playoffs probably, but they would not be as strong as a team.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Wild and Blues, definitely on them. Do you think there's a team that could challenge the Wild or the Blues in their division, or not really?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't really see it either, honestly. I mean, Phoenix and the Kings are kind of hanging around. Ducks and Sharks are pretty much out of it.
The Coyotes can't really play defense. So.
No, they do not. And they also have some terrible unis while we're here. So sorry, people of Arizona over there. I just don't like them. Listen.
That's kind of a hot topic, Tim. They're kind of a fan favorite from what I hear.
Oh, see, I like their reverse retros, but I don't like their actual uniform.
Oh, yeah, no, their actual uniforms are boring.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Reverse retros are tight. Then
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were getting at.
No, no, no. Like the Wild, when they're rocking the North Star color scheme,
That's so
elite
fire.
uniform.
Yeah, that's
Their
nuts.
regular uniform, whoever designed it needs to be fired immediately because it's terrible. I'm sure they're fired already, but like if you didn't fire them yet, they need to be gone because it's
Yeah,
bad. It's real bad.
yeah. The color scheme's not it. Kind of gross.
No, I know. It's terrible actually. So yeah, we're in lockstep there in the West. It seems like. All right, and then this one, I thought I was making a sneaky pick, but I guess not. So I'll give you mine first, right? So I got Jets, Oilers, Maple Leafs, Canucks. How about you?
I have the Jets, Maple Leafs, Oilers, and the Canadians.
Okay, so we're both on the Jets catching. Toronto's currently in first by 2 points. Um, Oilers are actually tied for first, I guess, but Toronto and the Jets have 2 games in hand on the Oilers. Why are you sticking with the Canadians?
Um, just because they only have 31 games played and they have 37 points. My
Okay.
question to you is why do you think the Canucks would be the fourth seed with 36 games played and 35 points?
Because I just don't think that the Canadians are good. Like, we've been on this all season. I don't know how they win games. Like, I just don't think they're a good team.
They made some solid moves last offseason. Or 2 off seasons ago, I think it was. Getting rid of Domi, bringing in
Yeah.
Josh Anderson from the Blue Jackets, that was solid.
Yeah.
That rookie kid Suzuki's playing, or like I think he's in his sophomore season now, but he's playing mad well. I think they have really balanced forward lines, and their defense is playing well. Jeff Petry's having a Norris candidate season, I'd say.
See, I guess when I view the Canadians, I just see, like, the poor man Islanders. Because, like, the Islanders aren't that good. Like, I'm going to just be straight up. Like, they have, like, 3 dudes who can play that are, like, actually skilled as individual players. One of them is injured. And the rest of the team is just, like, these fake good guys that Barry Trotz makes look good. I mean, look, we have the same team we had when we had, Doug Waite and then Jack Capuano. Literally same exact players. And we were awful. And now we get a coach and we're suddenly, like, a top team. Like, no. Like, he just knows what he's doing. And I think that's my problem with Montreal. Because when I look at their team, I'm just like, they don't have any game changers.
That makes sense.
But they're
I
just, like,
understand.
super solid, I guess. Like, I don't know.
I think that I think they're just a super solid team because like Vancouver does have like Elias Peterson, Brock Besser, and JT Miller and those guys, but like who are their defensemen?
Oh, I love Quinn Hughes.
Well, like Quinn Hughes. But come on, besides that, let's keep it real.
He's the only defenseman they need. He plays a lot of
And then,
minutes.
the other like 3 forward lines are kind of just.
So I guess agree to disagree there. That's another one. Make sure you bookmark that, people. Canadians or the Canucks. I think what might do me in on that, even though Vancouver is 7-2-1 in their last 10, like Joe said, they do have 36 games played already. Montreal only 31.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I made the pick. Not gonna lie. 36.
Okay, so if they had the same exact amount of games played, where would you go?
And Vancouver. So you're saying if Vancouver also had 31 games played, but was
Yeah.
still 2 points behind?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably pick Vancouver.
All right. So let's go Vancouver then. But all right, so here's my other question for you. Why'd you end up taking the Jets to win this division? Because I thought I was being kind of sneaky doing that, but I guess not.
I just think Toronto kind of chokes when it comes towards the end of the season.
Yes.
And like especially playoff time, and then Edmonton again, just 2 games in hand. Well, they have 2 extra games played already, and only 2 points ahead. And I feel like they're gonna slow down because again, besides Draisaitl and McDavid, they don't really have much going for them either. And they've just been beating up on the Senators and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, the way I view Toronto is the way that I viewed like the Houston Rockets all these years with James Harden and Chris Paul and all those guys. Like, yeah, that's great. Like, show it to me when it matters, dude. Like, show up when it matters.
I just think they need to work on. Well, they got Tyson Berry. Oh, wait, do they still have Tyson Berry? Yeah, I think they have Tyson Berry. But their defense just needs to get better, and they need to get like a actual like all-star goaltender for them to actually make any noise. I feel like in the playoffs, because Frederick Anderson is a bot. He is
Oh man.
like in games that matter, he is bad.
Do you think it's all on him though, or do you think it's like a team thing? Because I feel like the whole team doesn't really play well when it
Yeah,
matters.
yeah, and you're right. In big games, I feel like the team just kind of like chokes and just like nervous or something before the game. It's weird. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
they don't really come up big in big game situations. So that's and the Jets have some solid players in a Connor Helbelia, solid goalie. So I think they could do it.
He won the Vezina last year, didn't he? I thought he did,
He
right?
did.
Yeah.
He did.
See, I think that Winnipeg is just like top to bottom the better team. Like they don't have the star power that the Leafs do between,
Yeah.
Matthews, John Tavares, obviously Joe Thornton's a big name, Mitch Marner, etc. But I just think Winnipeg, because I feel like they're like physical, and I know I've said that before, like earlier in this podcast. Physical teams just win in the playoffs. I don't know what it is, but I guess there's only so long you could outskate somebody until they just put you on your ass all game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. That's something that the Maple Leafs do lack for sure. Is like a really like good grinders and stuff.
Yeah, they have like their skill guys are like super skill guys.
Yeah.
Now they do have. We're not saying like if you're Canadian and you're like Toronto fan, like we're not trying to disrespect you or anything. Like they have guys that play that role, but they're not like these super elite, I guess, grinder type players or like power forward type guys. Even though
And
Joe Thornton is kind of a glorified power forward at this point.
Yeah. He's just old, so just happy to see him around still.
Oh
And then
man.
the Leaf fans are not happy with John Tavares from what I've seen this season, just around social media. They are not happy with that man.
Yeah, well, guess what? I hate that guy, so
with that.
yeah, I'm happy that they're not happy with him.
Yeah.
Get that guy the hell out of here.
Facts. But yeah.
So I guess while we're gonna trash JT, because I can't pass up an opportunity to do that as a salty Islander fan. When I saw that tweet last year that it was like the Islanders already have more playoff wins in Toronto than John Tavares does, I was just like, wrap it up. That's it. That was the tweet right there.
Yeah. That was sick. Yeah.
All right, so we're done with the standing talk. Let's go to a little wet in the beak here, and then we'll give you our game of the weekend, and then we're out of here. All right, so bad week last week. Collective 1-4. I mean 1-3. Excuse me. Mostly on me. I went 0-2. Hurricanes and the Panthers both did not show up. It was a close game, 1-goal game each way, but not good. Joe split. So we're now 9-7 on the year. Now, I had a 2-0 week. I also was the first 0-2 week. So I got to try to get some more consistency there. So I got to pick first this week, so I'll give one of my games. Now, I originally had the Penguins over the Sabres, but then I realized they're playing each other right now as we're recording this podcast. And obviously, these picks are for March 25th. So I switched off the Penguins, and I'm going to go with the Washington Capitals minus 215 over New Jersey for a couple of reasons. One, I just think Washington's better than them. And two, they're 8-2 in their last 10. New Jersey is negative 19 in the goal differential. Now, their young players are playing really well, but I just think Washington is one of those teams that is not the type of team you want to play if you're a young team. Washington's disciplined. They got veteran leadership. They check. They can skate. They're a complete team. So they're going to be my first pick for tomorrow. So who do you got?
For tomorrow, even though I kind of like shit on the Flyers for a good portion of the episode, I like them at minus 106 against the Rangers tomorrow. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and as I said before, 3-6-1 in their last 10, and they should feel embarrassed about the last game they played against the Rags, so they better get a win.
So one thing I've noticed about you, right? Everyone has their tendencies. Joe likes to pick the team that's like down on its luck because he thinks it's going to rebound.
I think not. I think I got a better What the Beak record than you so far for the podcast. So I think it's working.
No, you do. I'm just saying, like in general, like everyone has their things. Like,
No, it's
so
true.
when I do baseball with Keith, right? He likes to take these teams that are just like super solid all around, but like don't really have the superstars to back it up. And I'm just like, give me all the flash. Like I don't know, I'm like obsessed with and baseball anyway. Like not other
Yeah.
sports. Like my other thing in baseball is just if I'm a bad team, I will sign a veteran strictly to trade him for prospects. Like that's the only reason why I'll sign him. And if you listen to the baseball podcast, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Like guys like James Paxton and all these other guys that get signed by bad teams. Like I'll sign this dude and I'll trade him 3 months into the season for someone in your farm system, and it's a wrap. So that's my tick. Your thing is picking the teams when they're down.
Yeah.
You get some good odds that way. The odds, but for tomorrow, by the way, people, not great. Really not great.
Yeah.
The favored teams are like heavily favored, so you got to lay down some cash if you want to make some back. My second pick is going to be the Lightning minus 177 over Dallas. And this is pretty much the anti-Joe pick. Dallas has not beaten them all season, and I don't think it starts now. That's it.
My second pick is Minnesota minus 134 over St. Louis tomorrow night at 8 p.m. because they're on a 1-game winning streak. But well, this kind of goes against like what I do really. They're 7-3 also in their last 10, and I'm seeing here like a good amount of the public is riding the Wild too. So I just have a good feeling about it. And the Blues are 4-3-3 in their last 10, kind of having a average season, I'd say, so far. So, and the Wild have just been going off. So I like the Wild tomorrow.
I feel like the Blues are like the definition of mediocre this year, anyway. This year,
yeah.
With your Flyers pick, you're not worried about the aftermath of last week.
Nope, not even thinking about it. So I know they're not thinking about it. Well, and if they are, I better get them tight. Nothing in a hockey game. Imagine it's even worse, like tomorrow or something. I would look like an idiot.
I loved how you were so confident. Like they're not thinking about it. But like, all right, well maybe they might be, but hopefully it gets them mad if they are.
It's better than that.
All right, so games of the weekend here. What do you got as your prime game?
For my prime game, since I picked second, this weekend, I like Saturday, 7 p.m. Lightning versus the Hurricanes. It's a battle of the two top teams in the Central Division, and I just really feel like it's going to be a good one.
So the reason I like that game, that was actually my backup pick. Even though I got to pick first this week, so I don't really need a backup pick. But sometimes I'm a nice guy, and I let Joe kind of go there. I want to see if the Hurricanes can hang with the Lightning. Because I feel like the Lightning are starting to get rolling. And if they get on a hot streak, like they could bury everyone out of any division. Yeah.
I agree.
My pick is going to be the Golden Knights against the Avalanche. Me and Joe talked about this, pretty much at length already. The two heavyweights out in the Western Conference going at it. 3 p.m. NHL Network. So you get the game, people, all right? It's going to be a great game. The Avalanche rested Grubauer last night, which was Tuesday, to play him 2 times against Vegas. So they know these 2 games are massive for them, right? And I think Vegas and Colorado, like we said before, they're going to go at it down to the wire. These 2 games could mean a lot. If the Avalanche could take both of these, they would jump Vegas in the standings.
Yeah, that wouldn't look too good for me now, would it?
No, it would not. Do you think they win both?
No.
No. Yeah, neither do I. But I think they split. I think they'll split it.
I think they split.
Yeah. All right. So we're on board with that.
I'd be shocked if either team went 2-0.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're evenly matched. So before I get to next week's show, I spared you here in the beginning without the whole spiel I got to give you, so here it comes. Ready? So here we go. Number 1, you got to follow Beak Brands. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Got to do it. All right? Number 2, If you're watching on YouTube, you probably already subscribed, but if you didn't, hit the subscribe button. We need you. All right. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify, we need you to follow and or subscribe there as well. Tell your friends, help us out, share us, whatever you got to do. Number 3, beakbrands.com. We have written pieces there. The podcast is posted there. It's a good time, so check out the website. Number 4, if you want to follow me and Joe here, Joe Wilson 24 with 2 E's. I am at Tim Ferdinand on Instagram. Feel free to interact with us there. Super active. You know, Joe's got nothing better to do because now he's trapped somewhere because he's got COVID. So listen, he'll be on his phone. All right. Listen, we're here for the people, Joe. We're here for the people.
We are.
So next week, hopefully we get some trade traction going, and we'll be able to give you some guys who could be on the move to some new places. So that's going to be one thing we try to focus on next week. So Joe, thank you for toughing it out tonight. I know COVID kind of, kicked some people's rear ends. You just tested, so it's like you might not be that bad yet. I saw you just had some electrolytes. I saw it. I don't think I didn't see.
Yeah.
So he'll be all right. He'll be all right. Hopefully by next week we're back to normal here, people. And other than that, I think we're done. So until next time, we are out of here.